Over the last few months, I have been exploring thoughts around just how much relational woundedness impacts our mindset. Our minds house varying jobs like our thought processes, our ability to reason, understand information, retain short and long-term information, and analyze it. Our minds are responsible for the expression of our motivations, of our beliefs, levels of creativity, and so much more. While our brain does the function of all of that input and output, our minds are the fashion of it. Some might say, not some, me, in short, that our mind is the nature of our soul. The soul, in its totality, houses your mind. It also houses your distinctive will, unique imagination, complex emotions, and tailor-made affections. This is a lot to think about already, but don't get too hung up on it because really the point is that we were created with amazing depth and intricacy. Not one of us exactly like another. We are fashioned uniquely in the image of God, which is infinite in all of his traits. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, High Risk for Heartbreak. I am your host, Christina, and I'm so glad you decided to join me today. If you are new here, I just want to thank you for stopping by. And for my old and faithful returning crew, you know just how much I appreciate you. I have a goal, you guys, to get to 1,000 subscribers by December 31st, 2025. I'm making it very specific, making it very plain. So if you aren't subscribed, go ahead and click that subscription button. Stay for a little bit. Obviously, unsubscribe if you hate the content, but I'm sure you subscribe to a lot of channels that you don't even watch. So at least stick around for a couple of episodes here. I would really love to get you guys feedback as well. So if you do like this episode, click that like button because it lets me know that you like this and you like the nature of the content, and I can continue to curate that type of content for you. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Let's get back into it. Neurologist and psychoanalyst, often referred to as the father of psychology, Sigmund Freud had a lot to contribute to the world of psychological study in the early 20th century. His focus was on treating mental illnesses, and in his discovery, he coined a lot of what we know about the human brain and mind today. He had a very targeted focus on the unconscious mind being the house from which all human behavior stems from, like the ones that I mentioned before. He also theorized that human behavior is driven by the unconscious mind more than the conscious, and that there are three parts to the mind, none sharing equal impact to our behaviors. The subconscious mind. It is the storage unit for recent memories, current info that is necessary for quick recall, like day-to-day recall, a person you just connected with at a networking event, etc., their phone number, something like that. Then you have the conscious mind, which gives you the ability to direct your focus and the ability to imagine what's not actually real. I love to use that one. If we think about how much of our day is actually not happening from this place, it's sort of amazing. The number of times I tell myself a day to focus and wrangle in my thoughts and behaviors just speaks to the magnitude of the before mentioned subconscious mind. It's like an app kind of running in the background, taking up all of your battery life. However, the finitude of the conscious mind, which is thought to only make up 10% of the mind's function, is like that app that you have on your phone that you really need, but you seldom open. Do with that what you will. Lastly, my favorite to speak about for a number of reasons is the unconscious mind. Now, this is the place where all of our past long-term memories and experiences reside. These memories are the ones that you don't want to remember. Feels like an oxymoron. They are traumatic events that you don't remember clearly, or you've chosen to repress them because who needs to go there again, right? The unconscious mind is the deepest, the darkest, heaviest rooted part of your expressive behaviors that are outside of your locus of control. The unconscious mind makes up a very small but mighty 30 to 40% of your mind. But to me, I theorize, very loosely by the way, that the unconscious mind is your deepest soul expression, and while the subconscious and conscious are acting more as a filter for it. The way Sigmund Freud set up these theories has always been so fascinating to me, and working with children, I get to see this in real time, much of these theories in real time every single day. Anyway, we're not going to talk about all that today. We're actually going to speak about how our unconsciousness, those stored traumas, those heartbreaks forgotten about and repressed wounds are heavily influencing how we do our relationships. Unconsciously, of course. These things set our hearts up in a certain way, and that way became so rooted that now we have to consciously choose to do differently, to achieve differently in our relationships. And it seems simple, but remember, much of our behavior exists from coding, so we have been, in essence, written to respond a certain way to a certain thing for a certain result. We've spoken about mindset, but let's talk about how heartbreak has our hearts set up for relational failure. Let's talk about our heart set. So let's relate. Heart set is not a word. It's not a word, just as much as irregardless, though unfortunately, you will find one of those non-words in the current dictionary. Heart set is something that I made up, and mark my words today, let it be on the record that I said this today. It's not trademarked or copyrighted, so don't be sneaky. Your heart set is a state of unconscious relational behaviors that are impacted by past trauma, damage, woundedness to the totalness of your soul. Your heart set is the deepest, darkest, heaviest, most rooted part of your expressed relational behaviors. And because relationships are, in my belief, the most important thing that we have to steward on this earth, the way that we relate to others is paramount to our soul's health. But it's contingent upon our soul's state. Our relationships are only as good as our soul is good. And that beautifully and wonderfully made vessel of expression has been in the hands of many relational partners since God created it. And without a doubt, it has impacted the way that your soul navigates your relationships. Heartbreak and relationships are my focus here, so I am talking about something that countless others obviously have already theorized, examined, and proven, but I am zeroing in on the heart and soul from a biblical perspective and how our relationships, one of God's greatest gifts to humans, are important, but our physical vessel will only allow us to experience them to the expanse that our soul allows. Case in point, in the last episode, I shared with you how my past woundedness caused me to choose romantic partners who were long distance in my past. It took a couple of friends to make me aware that what I idealistically desired was not what I was experiencing. And in fact, I was choosing partners who couldn't fulfill the ideal. That choice was not conscious. It was not a conscious choice. And while it was a consensual choice, I actively chose to be in relationships with those men. I was unconsciously choosing men I wouldn't have to be around. My woundedness chose that. My heart became set in a way that believed romantic partners were all abusers and manipulators. And so to keep the peace and abuse to a minimum, I literally would remove myself from the equation. Minimal interaction. Honeymoon style only was going to definitely set us up for success when really it was not. And it was only allowing the wound to remain unexposed and not be able to breathe, which should happen within a relationship. Healing can happen within relationships and does oftentimes, in healthy ones, of course. Anyway, that response unconsciously was a survival instinct, which I thank God for because it did save me from a lot of other situations. I've been through quite a bit. Survival instincts are great. They are amazing in moments where there's something to survive. But like I stated in the last episode, love in its purest iteration does not have to be survived. So my heart, my soul's expression of affection, emotion, my will, my imagination, in many ways was set on survival mode. Mishandling, misuse, abuse is not what God designed us to have. Yet we have this mind system that sorts all this data. Right? It sorts this data collected from our relational experiences, coding us for the potential of a repeat encounter. That's what those instincts are. That's what the memory is. From that is created a heart set that programs us for familiarity unconsciously, even if the experiences are negative, causing us to seek more of what is familiar, even if it lowers our chance of survival. This is where the disconnect is really revealed. Why do hurt people seeking healing unconsciously select the same thing again and again that originally hurt them. It could be a personality type. It could be a style of attachment that doesn't allow love to thrive easily. It could have been dealing with a relationship where a partner, friend, or a parent is riddled with their own burdens and they're unable to meet your needs. And you've become accustomed to that. That's familiar. So you unconsciously search for that in your other relationships. There are so many unique codes, so many combinations that could cause one who is hurt to keep choosing hurt unconsciously, because the hurt place is the only place they know how to survive, and they've been coded to live on survival mode. They have been set to live from an unhealthy heart space. And we know while everything doesn't create catastrophic traumas, every relationship, though, will either create or expose one way or another. So it's important to understand that while our minds can be trained on an ideal style of relating to others, our behaviors probably are telling a different story. Our hearts are subsequently conditioned to love from protection of our woundedness versus loving in a way that heals it. And that's why we need the connective tissue. We need God to heal our broken hearts and bind up our wounds. Your heart set can either constrain you, keeping you from the fullness of love in your relationships, or it can expose and catapult you to wholeness in your relationships. Exposure or revelation must be brought to your consciousness to begin the process of actually healing from your unconscious heart set, allowing you to propel into a renewed state of heart. But how do you bring forth something from your unconsciousness to your consciousness? Like my friend Christina, who I mentioned in the last episode, through a simple question, she brought forward a set of repressed memories that created a heart set in me. It was a state of being. I was not even in a season anymore. I was in a state of being, a lifestyle about how I thought about men. Her question was a trigger point that had yet to be touched. And obviously, we can't just wait on a friend or a family member to trigger us into consciousness. We have to be able to develop practices that will allow us to dig deep into our woundedness and our repressed spaces, sometimes with help and most times without it. I will speak about some ways that I do this in a few moments, so hang tight. I saw a video not too long ago of this guy standing on quicksand. He was demonstrating just how quickly things can get out of hand when you encounter quicksand. It made me think about how just one movement can cause you to sink deeper into this soft spot in the earth that is not only swallowing you up, but it's closing in around you. That one movement may not seem like a lot has happened to you, but like this guy, you don't have to do much for the sand to nearly engulf you. Heartbreak can be a lot like that. One lie from your friend sets your feet into this state of mistrust or doubt. Then another type of offense sets your knees. And then before you know it, you're waist deep in this cement-like state of being and you're panicking. And you can't recollect how you even got this deep in the first place, only that you need to survive. So you flail, and that only sinks you deeper into this quicksand, this cement-like substance of the unconscious. It's engulfing you, causing you to flail for survival. Meanwhile, it's the flailing that's actually killing you. That was me for a lot of my past before God took a hold of my heart, and he's had to continue to take a hold of my heart over and over again. I've had to constantly surrender this area of my life to him. I had to be engulfed in my woundedness, unfortunately, to a place where only he could get me out of it. And for some of you out there, you can resonate with this. And maybe you're still here in your wounded state and you aren't even aware of it because you're set in such a way that only a blinding light can open your eyes. Only someone dragging you out can open your eyes. You continue to encounter the same character types in different bodies, and you're wondering how to make it stop, but you're not aware enough to understand that it may be you. Some of us are in too deep to pull ourselves out of ourselves. We're too deeply set in the woes of the heart to see that every familiar thing is not a good thing, and more importantly, a God thing. We want God things. We all have our proclivities, or we're predisposed to behaviors towards certain things from our nature and our nurture. Many of these things you may not be able to change, but you can be made aware so you can more consciously navigate in your life and your relationships. So how do you begin the practice of recoding or resetting your heart? Here are 3 simple things that I have done that have made me so much more conscious of my heart set. Therefore, I'm more conscious in my relationships. 3 practices that help me bring forth my unconsciousness to consciousness so I'm able to work through repressed wounds that are not going to obliterate my relationships start with this. 1, abiding. Abiding specifically in Christ. And no intimate relationship, I want you to know, is formed by a drive-by or by a quickie. You have to be able to abide. You have to sit. You have to spend time getting to know the creator of your consciousness. Who better to explain you to you than the manufacturer? Many of us want microwave solutions to deeply rooted issues. We want to BBL our lives, and that will not last. I just want you to understand it's not going to go the distance. I have been out there. I have been in therapy much of my life, in and out, and it took God specifically. So he cannot be an option. You have to abide. You have to get to know him, and you will get to know him better. And as you do, you'll get to better know you. Prayer, reading, worshiping, surrounding yourself with believers, even if you are not a believer, get to know someone who is. So much will be revealed to you by just consulting him, abiding in him. It is in those secret places that you will find that connective tissue that I spoke about briefly earlier. You need to reconnect with the source of healthy connection to be able to live it out daily in your life, so that these past wounds, these past soul wounds are not the leader unconsciously of your relationships. That leads me to number 2, which is to reflect. Now, this will probably be the hardest one to do because it requires you first to submit to healing. Many people idealize a better life than they actually are ready to surrender to. And I still struggle with this, honestly, on a day-to-day basis in many ways. But you have to be ready for God to prune you and to pull you out of you, right? Think about that quicksand. That quicksand is your unconscious mind. You have to be willing to allow God to save you from you. Some great ways to reflect, of course, are journaling. You can do that via audio. You can do it video if you want to look at yourself. You can do it via writing, which I prefer. Quiet time in your home, in nature, going on walks to the park or people watching at the park. Put your phone down. Those distractions from all of that constant messaging is confusing you. It's convoluting your mind. What you need to do in this moment is to reflect on your own thoughts, your own beliefs, truly asking yourself questions. Reflect on judgments that you have about others and why you have those judgments. Chances are it will bring up personal insecurities, which will automatically help you go deeper into you. Another thing is to survey your friends and family about you. Now, this might be a little bit tricky for some people because maybe you don't have someone to do that with, or maybe you don't really trust them or don't want to hear what they have to say. So obviously nix that if it doesn't work, but ask them what they think about you. Hear them out, okay? Sit in those responses. Notice similarities between those responses and the things that they say, and figure out if any of that makes sense to you. Obviously, you consult only with those you can trust and who can handle your soul in a healthy manner. And if you don't have that, just be with yourself. My best reflection time has always been on long walks with my dog, unplugged. I love it. Lastly, align. This one is going to require another commitment before you see the transformation. This is like a pre-commitment. That is aligning your conscious thoughts with what God says. You and others will have all of these thoughts in the world, but if they aren't rightly divided with the words of God, you will only be as good as your soul is good. Okay? Your soul can be better, but you can't do it on your own. You have to focus on what's lovely and renew your consciousness as much as you breathe daily, all day. Some people do affirmations all day, trying to convince themselves, but this is not trying to convince yourself. This is committing to aligning your thoughts with what God says about you. What he says about him and what he says about you, coming into alignment. It's a submission as well, coming into alignment with that, agreeing and committing to that. There are things that we commit to every single day to believe that we've never even researched, things that people say online every single day that we have no idea really what they're talking about and if we truly believe it. So it is interesting to me when people buck at committing their minds to the things that God said about them. It is a personal commitment, and it takes effort to stay your mind on the things of God and not on the woes of your heart. You will find that over time, God will change your heart about things that once bothered you, that once triggered you, that stagnated you. The thoughts that you had about yourself, they will begin to change to his thoughts that he has about you. Well, you will find renewal in choosing to align first, which takes great faith. But I see it this way. You've done all the other things and you're still searching for a solution to your healing. So try faith first. Align. Try aligning your thoughts with his first and begin to uproot that once heavily rooted behavior of your heart set. Watch God begin to renew your mind and your will, your imaginations, your affections, and your emotions, resetting your heart for relationships that reflect what was originally intended for you. Trauma and heartbreak are to some degree inevitable, but the damage and the woundedness to your soul can and should be healed so you can experience life fully. Don't allow any longer your heart set to run the program of your unconscious relational behaviors. You can fashion your heart differently if you're willing to put effort towards it and surrender for the lifelong ride of expanding your conscious behaviors to have better, more fulfilling conscious relationships. I know this rhetoric was a lot, but I believe so very much in healing of the soul because I have been on both sides of this many times, and I have tasted and seen how God continues to uproot things that for so long were engulfing me. Abide, reflect, and align, and watch how your heart set, along with your mindset, begin to transform the way you have relationships. Less surviving, more prospering. Thank you so much for loving yourself first, so you can then go and love your neighbor. Until next time. Why don't you stay a little longer? You like what you like, right? Subscribe to the channel so we can spend a little more time together, and maybe comment your thoughts because I care what you're thinking. Love is the risk and the reward.